Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I feel. I called him out. He didn't show, and so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
Not yet.
Now we're recording.
Are you sure?
Well, you should probably be able to see it on the screen.
Hey, folks, we've been sitting here at Applebee's for a while, and we just got to our table, so welcome.
Yeah, you're late.
Yeah, you're late. Someone's late.
You're late. Yeah, you didn't press record. You, the listener.
It's your anxiety-filled NASCAR podcast. You missed all the anxiety discussion, but let's just say Ashley and I are already nervous about our next couple weeks of racing trips.
Yeah, y'all got a lot of traffic ahead of you. There's a question about that. Between Darlington and North Wilkesboro being in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Darlington's pretty chill, though. I'll say that. Like, it's my parents live a little over an hour from the track, so it's actually a pretty straight shot, and we've never waited more than like 15 minutes to actually sit and park. We usually get there plenty of time. It's a half hour to get out of there.
I think it's just kind of assumed that if you're going to a NASCAR race, you got to build in at least an hour on either side. I mean, way more on the front end, but
See, that's what I thought growing up, because my first handful of races were New Hampshire and Pocono, and like hours of waiting and like weird routes and shit to get to where we parked. Whereas when I started going back to racing at Daytona, and it was in and out 20 minutes.
Yeah, because it's not on a 2-lane road.
Yeah.
Shitty little 2-lane road.
But yeah, Wilkesboro's going to be a nightmare, and I'm already stressed.
Brian's about to have
It's going to be worth it, though. It's going to be worth it.
One of the best weekends of his life, and he's going to throw it away, folks. Worrying about it. So.
It's just 3 days straight for you.
You are right, though. It is going to suck ass. But
it'll be fine. We'll make some friends in traffic. We'll make some friends on the shuttle bus from the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I drive a stick, too, so I can't wait to sit in traffic for 2 hours.
Hell
it's going to
yeah.
be fucking awesome.
I think the worst traffic will be probably on the shuttle bus.
I also think people are probably making a little bit bigger of a deal out of this. I know it was a nightmare for the Cars race previously when they reopened the track and brought modifieds back and all that.
Yeah, they've had a year
to think about it, and honestly, like, it can't be any worse than getting out of Stafford after SRX that first year. I had a buddy who paid for parking, like, just on the outside of the track, and he left, like, 10 minutes early. And he called me from the highway and stayed on the phone with me for, like, an hour and a half just to taunt me. Purely to taunt me as I sat in traffic trying to get out of that place, so... But hey, that's the deal, though, It buys you a couple extra beers or some time to sober up, or, you can get the grill going, and it kind of is what it is,
The worst as a female is getting stuck in post-race traffic with a bladder full of beer, and there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's...
you're not Gatorade bottle ready, I don't guess. Well, I guess
No.
Some people probably are. Some girls.
They have apparatus.
No, not it. Yeah, I don't keep those in my purse.
We already talked about Kansas before the show started. So.
We talked about Kansas. We talked about Rob's trip up to Mahanonoc track, whatever the fuck that track.
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Note version. I went up to Monadnock this weekend for the Duel with the Dog 200. Monadnock, New Hampshire. What is it? Fuck, I can't remember the name of the town in New Hampshire. But it's right across the Mass border. Absolutely beautiful place. Little quarter mile. Racing was awesome. Doug Kobe absolutely spanked the shit out of everybody. Complete ass whooping, and Tommy Baldwin getting yet another win in that Southern NY, and I'm pretty sure they're just like last year. They're probably gonna be up front for the entire year, and Kobe's definitely the championship favorite. And honestly, if he's not part of the next 25 drivers to make the NASCAR 100, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. whenever that comes around, because he's actually, I would say he's qualified enough to make this current 75 for all the accomplishments he has. But yeah, go to Monadnock if you have a chance. If you guys ever make it up here, we got to go. It's a little hole in the ground in the middle of the woods. It's fucking awesome.
It's sick. Yeah, I definitely. It looks cool. It looks like New Hampshire's Bowman Gray almost a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too when you were sending us stuff.
Yeah, a little higher banks, because I guess there aren't banks at Bowman Gray, and the people don't beat the shit out of each other too much. No, there was some beating and banging. It was entertaining as hell, but yeah, great little short track.
Drunk. They just get publicly drunk and pass out in front of their moms.
And you can, and I did. No, I saw a guy definitely alcohol poison himself off Mick Ultra, and his mom was very disappointed as he was laying.
It was very early in the day.
It was still in the heats.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I feel like.
But yeah, that was a great event. If you got Flow Racing, or I guess probably on YouTube by now, or whatever they show it on NBC, just watch that race. Again, not a lot of crazy action like we saw at Kansas. It's just not the style of racing, but still a compelling race nonetheless. And the Modified Tour continues to put out some of the best racing you can see. And by the way, all across New England and the Northeast, there was a lot of racing this weekend, and a lot of modified racing at that. Waterford Speed Bowl opened up. I think Mahoning Valley also had some modifieds happening. Lee Speedway opened up. All of them had pretty decent car counts and full stands. So racing's alive up here in New England. It was fucking awesome to see. And I think we got 50 cars for the Spring Sizzler happen next weekend, which this is probably the 4th time I've mentioned that race on this show since it keeps getting rained out. But next weekend it's happening, and I won't be able to go. So yeah, man, Kansas though. Let's just. I guess we have to talk about it.
Let's just talk about this again.
That was awesome. That was best race of the year, no question.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah, Kansas has become one of my favorite tracks over the past few years, and it's definitely.
After the first time we spoke about it, I went and looked. It's about a 12-hour drive from here, which means I would much rather fly than drive.
Yeah,
especially
definitely
driving
flying.
Through fucking Indiana and Oklahoma. Yeah, no thanks. I'm gonna fly for sure. But yeah, I definitely am interested in going there in the fall for sure. I'm gonna start looking into that.
All right. Well, the 3 of us will meet up at the Applebee's in Kansas City because all 3 of us want to go.
On the Kansas side, not the Missouri side.
No, fuck that. We're going to Kansas.
I got to see how far away St. Louis. Rob, you might probably know how far is Kansas City from St. Louis.
That's like 3 or 4 hours, I think, something like that.
Fuck. I wanted to make a detour to the Bigfoot shop, but I guess I'm not driving.
It's a big
6 hours.
Missouri's deceivingly big. It's kind of on the other side of the state, but hey, Gateway's right there too. So I guess you couldn't. Those races don't happen close enough together to really make it a thing out of it. But yeah, St. Louis it's on the other side, and it's, I don't know. Maybe Kenny Wallace will put you up or something. You can stop by and stay on his couch.
Oh, please do that.
Oh, that would be awesome. Maybe. I don't know if it'd be awesome. It'd be something. It'd be
Can I
stay
story.
At your house? Herman!
Y'all can go tornado chasing together.
That's what they do.
I want to hang out with his friend that doesn't say anything and just get shit-faced with him. Peanut, whatever the hell the guy's Peanut.
You could be
He
him.
looks like a peanut.
Kenny, can I stay at your place? But I know you're probably going to say no. Can I stay at Peanut's place?
Yeah.
And the answer is, we're not sure. So, only one way to find out. But yeah, Denny Hamlin wins. No one seems to care because everyone's talking about Noah ordering up some watermelon and getting served it promptly.
Oh, God.
He did. And now I have thought about this over the last 24 hours because Ashley and I are.
I've thought about it a lot too, Brian.
We are on very opposite ends of the spectrum, and I just want to be careful
Complete
with
opposite.
Because funny enough, this is actually kind of how Ashley and I met years ago. Like she had posted something on her feed about hating Brad Keselowski, and at the time he was my favorite driver. Now, folks, here's your tip for getting in DMs with race fans. Don't try to gatekeep them and ask them what they know about racing. Ask them why they're shitting on your favorite driver, and maybe you'll get a conversation started.
Good advice.
Here we are, all these years later.
Listeners?
Yeah. We are. Ashley and I could not be feeling any more differently about who, I wouldn't say who won this fight, but I guess like
Well, Ross won the fight.
there's no argument there.
The
but,
fucking security guard
Yeah.
won the fight.
He gets the assist.
It was something. I think it's my take from all this is Noah is a young hothead who clearly has
A terrible haircut.
has a terrible haircut and has pulled some moves in his day that really would piss some people off. And I think he probably saw this as his moment to well, nobody else is gonna say it, and he was supposedly egged on by Chase and some other people. And this is his time to get more spotlight. He already got so much spotlight with his goofy ass haircut the week before. Well, now I can whoop Ross's ass. Well, turns out that's not how it worked. Not how it panned out for old Noah.
I'm not a fighter, and I was saying this to you guys after it happened. I'm not a fighter by any means, but if you grab my shirt, it's fucking on. Like that
and
is
you warn a guy. Yeah. Yeah.
You grab somebody's collar like that, I'm sorry. That is you asking not just to see the menu, but I don't need to see the menu. I know what I want to order, and he received his meal quickly.
Well,
and that was a good hit too. You could hear that shit.
Yeah.
this is a quick little jab. It just happened to connect.
Oh.
The way I saw it was Noah grabbed Ross's suit, and Ross repeatedly asked him to, stop, or are you ready? Just to give himself enough time for the security guard to conveniently come up to his rescue, because he knew the second he got that punch in that the security guard was right there to jump in before Noah could get his haymaker in.
See, folks, how different our analyses are of this situation.
Also, Ross was holding down Noah's right arm the whole time.
Yeah, that's
too.
a fight tactic.
Yeah,
Denny
yeah.
Well, yeah, it is, but
Yeah. He should have pulled his jersey over his head if he could. That would have been total hockey shit. But that's not how fire suits work.
I'm just disappointed that both drivers didn't at least get one swing in before the security steps in.
Noah had his arm all the way pulled back to Mexico. It was completely behind him.
I can admit. Noah's got a few inches and a few pounds on him, and it could have turned out bad for Ross had the fight continued. But I also think Ross probably knows what he's doing a little bit.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't put it. Ross is a farm boy, and watermelons are heavy, and you gotta toss them shits up into the truck, out of the patch. I'm sure he's got a few years of that under his belt, and he doesn't like to talk to people, so that's something. There's a lot going on in that head that doesn't get out. Yep. So I feel like if you put him in the wrong spot, like Noah did, I don't think he waited. I don't think it was calculated like that. It happened pretty quickly. The little fight counter in my head seemed right. Ross gave him a couple chances, and that was that. And I think Ross was ready to go. I think he was, but security stepped in and denied us.
Ross was ready to go because he comes to the track every week knowing he's a piece of shit, and that one day someone is going to finally have enough of it and step up to him.
But I don't think they're going to now.
Still the points leader.
Yeah, still the points leader, and he showed everybody that if you fuck with him, it ain't going to turn out well for you. So I feel like that's going to be the only time this season you're going to see it happen like that off track at least.
I don't know.
So. And also, one more thing I just got to say about Noah. Again, I understand he's frustrated, but this is also an extension of what happened at Talladega when they wrecked, and that was also Noah's fault. So I don't really understand, or it was mostly Noah's fault in my opinion. He came down on a late block, and that was that. So I don't think that Ross is really the bad guy. That he's not blameless by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he.
And even the move he pulled at Kansas really wasn't that egregious. As a Ross fan, I can say he's done some shitty things, and he's deserved some of the criticism he's gotten. But what he did to Noah was not fight-worthy in my eyes.
I get the feeling there might be some more that happened as well that didn't really make it on camera, but I don't know. It's... I kind of agree with you. I think Noah kind of sees this as his moment. He's angry. I'm not going to waste this, and I'm going to go up there and,
I think someone will eventually get fed up with Ross again and come after him, but this time they know to swing first before there's no talking needed. Just go in swinging.
Yeah, exactly.
Ross already knows that, though. He's already going to be on the defense. So.
Maybe the only one who can defeat Ross is himself.
Well, if he wants to punch himself in the face, I'd love to see that too.
Ross finally wrecks himself and he fights himself.
Yeah. Give me fucking something.
Well, I coming
Those
out of
points
this
later.
weekend, there's one thing that we can all agree on is that NASCAR was really victorious on Sunday because they were up against F1 in Miami, and while Rob's the only one on the show that actually watches F1 and follows it to any level. None of us watched it, and why would you? I mean, you had the best Cup race of the season that was full of drama, full of great action. You had the fight after the race. I don't know what the hell happened at F1. I do know that the internet told me that it was insanely overpriced. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos were there, and we got a really goofy soundtrack song, and it just, NASCAR won in the ratings, which harkens me back to my pro wrestling days of like AEW and WWE ratings wars. Well,
Yep.
F1 versus NASCAR. NASCAR very cleanly won, even though there were more technically younger people watching F1, which is to be expected, I think, when your race is more or less just a dramatized TV show at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like the ratings are going to eventually level off for F1 as well. And, from what I can tell, it was compelling enough. Again, the broadcast team does a good enough job of conveying strategy, which I think that the NASCAR broadcast team could actually take a couple notes from. Granted, strategy is a lot different in Formula One in some ways, but in other ways it's not. It's short pitting. It's, getting your car in the best position to gain time later in a run, shit like that. The same thing we always see. And the F1, or the Sky broadcast in particular, which is what gets fed into ESPN, they do a great job of portraying that, even though they do tend to be a little bit biased towards the British drivers because they're a UK broadcast team. But I just, who fucking cares? I don't know. Like, it's just. So, as a Formula One fan, and I'll keep this brief because I don't want to rant about Formula One again on a show that no one really gives a fuck about it on, but I have similar issues with Formula One that I have with NASCAR in the direction that it's sort of going, sort of stepping out of its roots and forsaking its roots just to kind of chase the shiny new audience, And we all saw what happened when NASCAR tried to do that in the mid-2000s, and, everything dies, right? Nothing stays at its peak forever. There is a decline at some point. So, and that happened with NASCAR with the chase and a bunch of other changes, and, a lot of fans are, despite the racing being pretty good at Kansas and, and Dover and a couple other races this year, a lot of people are kind of turned off by what's happening at the highest level of the sport right now. And I think you are seeing a lot of the same shit from current and old school F1 fans. We're moving away from these classic European tracks and going to places that are they're shitty, like designed around DRS zones and, these stupid little like chicane sections that really just, I guess they're probably designed to help with the ERS system and the brake and energy recovery and all that. And they just don't produce racing like a place like Monza or Spa, two places that might actually lose their positioning on the calendar at some point. But anyway, to close this rant, like, it's all temporary. They've hit on something right now, and the broadcast team does a great job of portraying it, but now is how do you retain people? And I don't think you retain people from coming to the live event, in particular, by having, $400 Tres Leches cake on your concessions. That's a bad call.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument that's made about, the price of exclusivity, and when you have all these celebrities showing up and it gets eyes on the product, and these people are going, I should be there, but it's like the average fan can't really afford it. When you go there, especially like those street courses, you can't see shit.
It's not a good experience.
No, it's really not, and it's why it's like NASCAR Chicago it's destined to fail, because as a longtime fan, I don't want to go to that. Like, not just cost. It's just I know it's not going to be a good race. I know I'm not going to be able to see anything, and I know having to drive to Chicago is a nightmare. So you know, it's good that NASCAR's only going to be doing one race like this, and I hope it's just a one and done, and they learn from this and move on, and maybe this isn't an area we want to expand in. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Who knows? Maybe we could be wrong about this, and it's a great weekend, but I just don't feel like it's going to be. And if it's anything like these F1 races, it's guaranteed to be a fan.
Well, it's like when you present something so exclusive, at some point you get tired of hearing that you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be a part of it. Whereas I've never felt that I mean, people complain about ticket prices for NASCAR, but I mean, let's be honest. Like, I can go to Loudon for the entire weekend plus camping for about $250, I would say.
The cost of a watermelon salad for 4 at F1.
Yeah, which you can bring your own goddamn water.
You bring your own fucking watermelon and you smash on your own. You know.
Yep. You
can pour booze in that watermelon.
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want at NASCAR, aside from bring glass in. So
yeah,
and I got to be honest, like I'm getting really tired of people shitting on Formula One and trying to call it not a sport, because it definitely is. It is the pinnacle of motorsport in this world as far as technology is concerned. Yeah, it's not the best thing you can watch, but as far as like the technological end of things, you can't beat Formula One. I'm sorry, it is what it is.
Yeah,
they are all these teams are building custom cars and doing incredible things, you know, and there's, you know, hundreds of people for each to design each car and make it this fucking freak of nature. You know, there's a lot of technology that's going to run off from Formula One that's going to end up in your car at some day.
But
you know?
Rob,
but
they can put all this time and effort and engineering into these cars. Why can't they make them race better? It's the same problem NASCAR is having right now.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
It's just, you know.
And I don't know if I'm smart enough to have that, you know, discussion beyond what I've already said, but like,
yeah,
it's just, it kind of is what it is. Like, it's entertainment for us. You know, it's a competition for them, and we enjoy watching it. We don't have any skin in the game other than having something to drink beer to, really. You know, and it is deeper than that, but it's just inaccessible. And I think at some point, that's going, once the allure of the television show kind of wears off, and once people realize that, oh, this is what happens all 17 weekends of the year, or 22, or how many races there are now, they're going to stop watching. And especially when the fucking Japanese and Asian portion of the season comes up and you got to stay up till 2:30 in the morning to watch it. Let's see how much of a fucking Formula One fan you are then.
Yeah.
I feel like I woke something up in you, Rob. You really needed to defend F1 on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I do love Formula One, but I don't like I don't like what I see now. I'm just tired of it, you know.
We have officially talked more about F1 in this episode than Kansas.
Well,
George Russell's a pussy, though, isn't complaining about standing out in his fire suit. Fuck that guy.
It is the second attempt. We talked a little bit more about NASCAR in our first attempt. Yes,
yeah.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, hell, let's go back to NASCAR. We're entering a series of great races right now, right? Mm-hmm. We got Darlington coming up. We all know how that place races. We got
always
Wilkesboro,
delivers.
old surfaces, you know, and that's the kind of the thing where like tire wear was a big deal in Kansas, and I think it's always a big deal in Darlington. So I think we're gonna see something special coming up next 2 weekends.
Yeah, right now they're calling for 90 temperatures on Sunday, so it's going to be a hot one. So track will be slick, cars will be all over the place. I'm excited. I'll be floating around the pits all day on Saturday, thanks to my buddy Harris hooking it up again. So I'll be cruising around with seeing all the sights, and Sunday I'll be there with my folks. So check my social media. You can find me floating around somewhere that weekend.
So when you're at Darlington, are you going to go for the $300 steamed buns or the $450 Florida stone crab cake?
You know, I guess we'll have to see what my stomach tells me when I'm there. I know usually the last couple of years I've gotten the alcoholic ice cream. Darlington used to be a Bojangles track, so that was always nice. I love getting to go to Bojangles every time I go to South Carolina. They don't have that anymore there. Now they're a cookout track, and sorry, Carolinians, cookout's trash. I said it. I think that place is trash. But the food there is okay. I'm going to try to find the weirdest specialty they have on the menu at the track and see how that goes.
Hell yeah. I think it's funny when tracks have like fast food sponsorship and there's actually one of those like restaurants located. Wasn't there a Taco Bell at Martinsville at some point?
What?
I don't remember that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I heard
it seems like a weird thing to do with the hot dogs. Like,
Yeah.
I think like in the late 90s and early aughts, there was a little Taco Bell stall there. I think I saw it somewhere. So I might be lying to you guys in the audience here, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. But
interesting. Well, and I'm gonna have to do some research about that. Because
Well, your stomach's already fucked up from the $2 Martinsville hot dogs. What's a little Taco Bell gonna do?
yeah. What's worse for you, 8 Martinsville hot dogs or a couple of Crunch Wraps? You tell me.
Just mix it all in there.
It all goes to the same place.
Exactly.
All over the floor of wherever you're staying.
I don't know how to move on from that one, but I guess it's time to talk about the DARF of the week, and there were plenty of DARFs this past weekend because everybody had something to say about what was going on the track, and Rob, as always, has a couple great examples of that.
Yeah, this guy revealed himself about 25 minutes after the race was over, and I told everybody, I was like, we should just record now because it's not going to get any better than this. I'm not going to find anything dumber than this. And it was, I was on Instagram. It was in, I forget which network posted it, but it was sort of a recap of Denny Hamlin taking the win from Kyle Larson. Which, let's be honest, I can't remember if we talked about this when we weren't recording or when we did record, but...
When we weren't recording.
It's a racing deal. I'm a Kyle Larson fan, and I got angry and threw my hat when it happened, but hey, Larson got loose and Denny didn't lift. It is what it is. Would have happened the same way if they reversed it.
Yeah.
And I think most people kind of feel that way.
Yeah, it's just last lap.
Except for Mr. Davis Seed on Instagram, who I don't even know what the fuck this is really about. But he says, "Crybaby Denny got rewarded for his woke, racist attitude. Seems like NASCAR is just trying to destroy NASCAR. Somebody needs to take him to the woodshed and teach him a lesson." And then True Love actually, from a different comment section, I think, found a follow-up saying, NASCAR should fine Denny and he should sit out the rest of the season. And for what, I'm not really sure.
Race manipulation.
Yeah. So what do y'all think? Is hiring Bubba Wallace woke and racist? Is that what we're talking about?
Is that what he...
I guess.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, I don't
We
really
should have
know.
DM'd this man to further inquire.
Davis, what the fuck are you talking about?
Is it racist because he wrecked the only Asian driver in the field?
It could be.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, but does Larson's past racism kind of even the slate there? Or how does that?
Right, yeah. Cancels each other out.
this is complex discussions for a different podcast.
On
But
a
if you have a racist opinion, be sure to message Brian directly and tell him about it. At Speedway Screens.
on a similar tip, I'm trying to find it in the shitposting group right now, but there was a woman on Twitter that
Oh yeah, I saw that.
she reached out to CNN saying that Noah and Ross were being too violent and this is ruining the sport. And,
What?
Yeah, like she thought
She
they should
went
get
all the way to
arrested.
CNN.
Yep, she was tweeting CNN about it. So
All the way up to the top of the chain, which CNN's not doing so good right now, so it was probably pretty easy to get a hold of them. Yeah, I kind of felt bad for that lady because it seemed like there's either it was like top tier shit posting or it was somebody who really just needs a therapist. So I'll give her a free pass. But Davis, I'm gonna sentence you to reading a people's history of the United States as your punishment for being Dark of the Week.
If any of our listeners, if this Davis guy is your racist uncle, please let us know.
Well, Denny's the racist, but
No.
again, I'm still trying to do the math on that one. Maybe he knows something we don't.
yeah, I'm still confused. That's DARF of the week. They're all idiots. All of them. All fans.
Let's go back to Darlington. You guys, well, Brian's going. True Love, you're not going, right?
No.
And this is, in my opinion, unfortunately, the throwback weekend. I feel like the Southern 500, if you're going to put it on there, or the All-Star race. One of the
Yeah,
two.
I feel like North Wilkesboro should have been the throwback week for this year, but, whatever. That's just me being biased.
We're still doing it on Mother's Day, though, for some reason.
Yeah. Father Father's Day this year is an off weekend, but we're still racing on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, as a non-dad, I wish there was racing happening. Even if I was a dad, I would wish there was
Even
racing.
if I was a mom. Shit. Well, at least there's something to watch.
So yeah, going to Darlington, I guess we got to talk about the throwback schemes.
Yeah.
From what I've seen so far, it seems like I've noticed a lot of Harvick and Childress related schemes, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of people want to pay tribute to him.
Yep.
I think Tommy Joe Martins and Alpha Prime, they have 3 different Childress themed cars, which all look really good. They even got CRC, which was one of Richard's early sponsors, on.
Yeah.
It's Sage Karam's car. It looks perfect. It looks exactly like Richard's.
I would argue that the Xfinity cars, the paint schemes in general, but particularly the throwbacks, look a little bit better on them because the body style is a little closer to what we used to see. It's a little bit more and the hoods don't have the louvers and all that, so it's a little bit
and
more
the number
easier.
placement, all that stuff.
Exactly,
It makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like Xfinity cars have kind of come out on top the last couple years.
I think that's, you can't argue against that. But in Cup, I mean, there are a couple decent ones. Obviously, Chase Elliott's was good. There's 2 different Dale Jarrett UPS schemes. One is great, and it's actually got UPS on it, and that would be Ross.
Yeah.
And then one is absolute dog shit. It is another awful scheme by Ricky Stenhouse's team, and this one features Country Crock Margarine as the sponsor on there, and just looks like a big turd. So
They slapped a picture of a grilled cheese sandwich on the side of it for some reason.
Yeah, they were saying it in tribute to Dale Jarrett, and I just don't. What did he do? Like smear?
Why do they hate him so much?
Smear shit on the wall of a Flying J or something at some point in his life, and that's what it's in tribute to. Like, horrible.
There was a Country Crock car at one point in NASCAR. Why didn't they just do that scheme?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Great question, but it just looks like AI designs those cars. So
Some of them, yeah. Penske. I don't know what Cindric has, but you have Joey Logano with the throwback shell scheme. Looks wonderful.
Beautiful.
Looks great. Back to the 70s AMC cars. And then you've also got Ryan Blaney paying tribute to his dad, but his car basically just looks like it always does. It's a very subtle design, and they didn't use the right colors to match his old Vibrant Sprint car, so it just looks like his car looks like every week.
still
Sorry,
got that
Ryan.
Menards green. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah. What else though? What are your favorites? What are your least favorites? What have we not mentioned yet?
Well, we already talked about Chase's, but that's obviously my favorite. I like Bowman's car. Brian, you said you had a comment about that, but you never told me what it was.
Bowman's car was good. I don't like how they do the yellow numbers, which I think that's what they're doing with this. It just doesn't work.
They're doing the gold. His numbers are gold.
Oh, well, still, I don't think it just doesn't fit. It's not what the original Valvoline scheme looked like. I actually have a comment about William Byron's car, and this is a bit of a hot take, but it is what it is. I don't like that chrome illusion paint scheme. I never thought that car looked good. I don't think that paint is good looking. I think it's very cheesy and goofy. It's something that, like, hot rod guys and custom car guys use it because it can color change, but I don't think it actually is visually appealing. I understand, paying tribute to Gordon and the throwback scheme and all that. It is what it is. If you like it, great, but I just think it's not for me. Never.
This race is being run during the day, right? Is it transition? I can't remember. I think it's going to be done before the sun goes down, unlike the Southern 500.
Yeah, it ends, I think, like 6, 7. So, I mean, yeah, it's not super late.
Those type of paints don't really look like much of anything unless they're under the lights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of modifieds that utilize that type of paint up here, and it only looks good once the sun goes down and the track lights are on.
Yeah.
And then it's something to behold, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have wasted this color.
Yeah, I mean,
on this one.
Going back to what Ashley said, yeah, I mean, it makes way more sense for that to have been run at Wilkesboro the following weekend, especially since I think Gordon was the last winner at Wilkesboro, wasn't he? Am I imagining that?
Yeah.
I don't know, beats me. That is what it is.
Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite, really. I'm not over the whole throwback thing. It just doesn't really,
It just feels like it's fizzling out, or no one tries as hard. I don't know. There's not as much excitement around it as when it first started up.
I just don't think they can really look good with where the numbers are placed on the cars, and that's not like a boomer anger kind of comment. I just don't think you can recreate that shit with where the number is, because there's too much space on the door now.
All the good schemes have been used up so many times over the years and done over and over.
When you say, good, that means more iconic and well known. There's plenty of good paint schemes that weren't successful or were only run once or twice, or limited amount. It's more just are the teams going to get involved? Are the sponsors going to get involved? And are the designers going to actually do the research? Somebody like Harris or Ryan Williams, those guys are going to go back and they're going to find the cool shit. And you look at everything that Ryan's done at JRM, and it's
they always have the best.
I just remembered, though, maybe the most egregious paint scheme of the entire weekend, and it belongs to Kevin Harvick. Now, Kevin is running a Sunny D car, which he never ran, and this car is supposedly to pay tribute to the AOL car that was supposed to be his debut car, and he ended up not driving for obvious reasons.
Also never ran.
Yeah. But it looks, obviously it looks nothing like it. It's the only thing that even kind of throws back to the scheme is I don't know the technical term for it, but the layout of the car, where the colors and where the swoops and stuff are, it kind of matches that AOL car, but it looks nothing else like it.
It's not the right colors.
For all the fucking cars you could have run, why that one?
Well, Harvick is running the 29 at North Wilkesboro, so he's saving his throwback for the big show,
and
in my opinion.
Everyone else is running all the schemes, so he's like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm out of schemes, so I'm going to have to do this one that I never did. So we have everyone else to blame for this.
Yeah. I got to say Bowman's my favorite, I guess. It doesn't look a whole lot like the Haviland scheme, but I do like what it looks like.
Anytime that color combo is used, I don't know. It's so beautiful.
When I said I liked Bowman's scheme, I meant I liked his Cup car scheme. No, not his Cup car. No, fuck. I'm fucking it all up. I actually don't like Bowman's scheme because it is a throwback to a throwback. I don't like that at all.
See, I don't like that either, but I like the colors, and I like that it
just looks nice.
It looks great. Yeah. Can't we just enjoy something nice, Brian?
No.
Please. No. For the love of God.
As this podcast's #1 Yates fan, I have to say that I don't like it, and I like Alex Bowman, and I understand why he's doing it, but I don't like it.
You know what? You're gonna sit in traffic, and you're gonna enjoy that paint scheme, Brian.
Enjoy it after the fact, because there won't be any traffic. So
I will say the one Xfinity scheme, I made a note that I don't like. Matt Mills, who we've talked about on this show before, is doing a Herbie the Love Bug scheme, and those have been done throughout the years, and I never understand why the fuck people pick out of all the things to throw back to fucking Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that car
irks me for some reason.
He'll have that thing smashed up into the size of a VW Bug by the time the race is all said and done. So perhaps it's appropriate. Wasn't there a movie where Herbie got smashed? Did I make that up?
I don't know. I never watched those movies.
It didn't happen all. I know there was a Herbie that
NASCAR
went to
one.
NASCAR race, yeah, but
we're gonna have to sit down as a family and watch that together.
Mm-hmm.
Fully Loaded, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. That's got Lindsay Lohan in it, so it's,
well,
something.
I don't know if I should talk about this on the show. Never mind.
You're gonna.
Well, now you have to.
But I'll just go ahead and say it. Many years ago, I was on Tinder in Charlotte while visiting Charlotte, and I matched with Matt Mills.
Oh.
I think you told me that.
Yeah, I've heard this story, yeah.
And he invited me over to Netflix and chill and I denied him, and he blocked me.
Yeah, he had that Herbie.
We
movie
could have
all-
watched Herbie the Love
He
Bug.
had Herbie all pulled up, ready to go, and
Anyways,
I don't know. So that has to end the segment. There's nothing else to say after that.
you know Herbie was able to avoid Rex pretty good, if I remember correctly.
So this week, folks, we're gonna kind of for the video of the week, we're gonna step back in time a little bit to I guess the beginning of this podcast when we first watched ESPN Speed Week, and we're gonna watch the later iteration of that show. It kind of became RPM Tonight and became a weekly show on ESPN2. This episode, by the time you're listening to it, actually came out on May 10th, 1997. Normally, this is a show that's hosted by John Kernan, who is an ESPN reporter way back when. But this particular episode was filled in by Kenny Mayne, who is a regular SportsCenter broadcaster, and definitely brings a lot of that SportsCenter vibe to it with constant jokes throughout everything he talks about on the show, which, you know, some people love, some people get annoyed by, but it at least brings something a little different to the table, I suppose, if that's your thing.
It's very ESPN2. I had kind of forgotten about how ESPN2 was back in those days, and this is a perfect example. I didn't realize it was the 26th anniversary. If you're listening to this, today's the 26th anniversary of this airing originally. So
That is part of why I picked this episode, because just the date. Basically, I wanted to find something from May, and it was like, well, this is going to come out on the exact day, so we have to do this one. Plus, technically, I mean, you know, Rob, you're the indie guy. When does poll week start? It hasn't started yet, has it?
no, that's a couple weekends from now. Poll day is Sunday the 21st or 20th or something like that. So we got a few days. But
Okay.
yeah, month of May used to go a lot longer, and there's man, I remember this being the year. Of course, Arie Luyendyk is heavily featured in this one because he's kind of the only star the IRL has at this point besides Tony Stewart. And this was the first year of them switching to normally aspirated engines, and they were so fucking slow. Like coming off of 1996, where the pole speed was 236 or something like that. It was the record up until Scott Dixon broke it last year. To, I think pole was like 217 or 218 or something like that. I remember being so pissed off as a child that, you know, people going like 209 out there and shit like that and still making the show. Like, it's like the 80s again. Fuck that.
It's kind of like how cup cars are now, you know, with 185 miles an hour at Talladega.
It's
you know,
the
like,
same damn thing. Speaking of Talladega, that race is featured on here.
Yep, which, you know, much different times. This was actually a delayed Talladega race. It should have happened 2 weeks prior, but it was a complete washout, which, again, 2023, they'd be running that on Tuesday if they had to. But they decided to just roll it back to the week after Sonoma because I guess they had an off week then, at least in the Cup Series. So that was interesting, too, because I didn't remember that, even though I definitely was watching at this point.
Yeah, me either.
You know, I don't know, real quick before we get back into the rest of the show, like, were you guys RPM Tonight watchers? Were you guys as excited about it as I was when it debuted?
Yes, absolutely. I loved this show growing up. And I liked that it tied everything together.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much racing that's talked about in a half hour here. It's pretty wild. Ashley, I'm assuming you were also a watcher as well.
I'm sure that it was on, but I have a terrible memory, so.
And as a
But this was like during my peak, like 12-year-old NASCAR fandom, so.
Same here. So yeah, it was a Talladega race. They go through that. Mark Martin wins his second race in a row, which was cool. Let's see here. At one point, Kenny Mayne calls Sterling Marlin the king of restrictor plate racing, which he only had a couple wins then, but just because he won 2 Daytonas in a row, I wouldn't have called him.
Yeah, that kind of caught me off guard, too.
Yeah. I do think, and Ashley, we got to get your feedback on this, because as I've watched old races, I always am taken aback by the attire that the NASCAR wives wear. I don't know how old, I think Arlene's her name, Arlene Martin was, but she looked like she was like 58. I know she wasn't.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ashley? Give us a rundown on your thoughts as the only woman on the show here. I don't want to sound sexist or anything here.
Yeah, I can't recall exactly what she was wearing, but yeah. Those
she
NASCAR wives then, they just look like moms that, like what your mom would wear picking you up from after school.
She was wearing like a business suit type thing, it seemed like.
Was it?
She had a jacket on and it was big gold earrings. It just didn't look like she was dressed for a race, that's for sure.
Yeah, just look like your average mom.
Yeah.
Compared to the Whitney Dillons and Samantha Bushes of today.
And, Kyle Larson's wife doing shotguns after wins and stuff.
Yeah.
Arlene wasn't doing that, that's for sure.
Well, that we know of anyway.
Now we head back to Indy, and this show kind of bounces back and forth a handful of times, both with the Talladega race and Indy. Coverage is all over the place. But they go to Indy first with a live interview with pole winner Ari Leyendijk, who is very confident going into the weekend. Marlo Klein, who is the announcer or the pit reporter at Indy, she asks Ari about other cars that were struggling all week, and Ari was fast, and Ari just straight up calls other teams sandbaggers, more or less. He's like, we're not here to sandbag. Like, if we're fast, we're going to be fast, to paraphrase what he said. So thought that was interesting.
Now,
but,
Rob, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm just going to, because they were talking about the Indy pole winner gets $100,000 and a free van.
Yeah.
Do they still give that out today?
I don't know if they're
to the pole winner.
The pole winner does get some money. I don't know if they're handing out Ford Windstars like they were back in those days.
They should. They should be handing out 1997 Ford Windstars.
I would like one.
This year's
Actually,
pole
didn't
winner.
those blow up? Like the airbags would pop off randomly and shit. It's not a good time for Fords.
The couple notes I have from this first little section is they show a clip of rookie Jeff Ward, who for those who don't know who he was, he started out as a very successful motocross racer in the 80s and 90s for Kawasaki, and he's probably the only motocross racer that made a successful successful jump to auto racing. And when I say auto racing, I mean obviously any sort of car. Carmichael, Pastrana, Rick Johnson. There were a handful of others that tried it. Jeff was the only one to actually win. He did end up winning. I don't know if it was one or two races in the IRL, but he did end up winning, and this was his first Indy 500. And the other note I have is there was a 3-hour gap in the first couple of qualifying runs, and the ones after that, I guess teams just didn't want to go out first. Like, nobody wanted to be the next guy to go out on the track for whatever reason, which is wild to think about, like how strict time and everything goes with most races now. Cars have to be on track at a certain time, and you're allotted X amount of time on the track. And here at Indy, it's like, you don't want to be on the track, you don't have to be.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about qualifying back in these days. It was very much, at your own leisure. You want to go out and take a 4-lap run, great. But this is with the way the bump system works and everything, you really do have to time it out. And if you put a bad time down and you find yourself at the bottom of the line and it rains, you could miss the show. So there's elements of that sort of strategy going into picking when you go out. So yeah, but again, this period of the IRL was kind of fucked up. 35 cars ended up starting this race, not to get too outside of the video, because the IRL fucked up majorly with the way they allowed cars to be in the race. A couple of cars that were very fast did not make the field. So they just stuck Len St. James and whoever else at the back of the field, and they ran 35 cars this year, all of them going about 205 miles an hour. So again, just not a good year for Indy, in my opinion.
And not to mention the fact, there was a weird finish too. Looking at the notes, there was Tony Stewart got wrecked the next to last lap. They threw a caution. Pace car never came out, and then all of a sudden it was a green-white checkered, or just a.
They threw the green when the white flag came out, and nobody was ready.
Yeah, it was very strange. And Ari ended up, winning the race, which he probably would have won anyways, to be honest. But
this was sort of the beginning of the USAC IndyCar divorce a little bit. There were a few other things that happened, and eventually USAC lost their sanction. This actually might have been the thing that broke the camel's back, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, not a good time for IndyCar racing, or at least the IRL anyway.
Next up, because this was supposed to be an off weekend for the Cup Series, trucks were in the Seattle area. I forget which track they were at in Washington, but they were racing Evergreen. Okay, there we go. Kenny accidentally calls the truck's cars a couple times and gets all flustered. The only other note I had was there was an NHL truck, NHL sponsored truck that caught fire, and Kenny made a Cheech and Chong joke, and then at one point he made a Zamboni joke because there was some sort of thing on the track that looked like a Zamboni, and Greg Biffle won that race, which I guess I didn't realize.
Rich Bickle.
Rich
Bickle.
I wrote Biffle in my phone. What a fucking asshole. Yeah, Rich Bickle.
Who's been featured on this show previously, so whoever that Darf of the Week was, think about that shit.
Yeah.
How many truck races have you won?
It was his second straight win in a row, too.
Yeah.
So
that was that, and then from there we're up in New Hampshire again. There was I guess it had to be a standalone event, maybe. I don't know if mods or anything else ran with them that weekend.
I think they did. Yeah, it's usually a weekend where the Busch Series and the mods and Busch North would all run together.
Mm-hmm. That was won by Mike McLaughlin.
Magic shoes.
After a great battle with another Northeasterner, Steve Park. From there's like little blips of like the starting lineup for some fucking race. I don't know. They just show random shit on the screen once in a while. It's very like I forgot watching this back like how much they would bounce between stuff. Where they didn't do all the coverage of one motorsport and then move on to the next. It was like, oh, we have like 3 extra minutes. I guess we'll go back and show this Terry Labonte interview that we didn't get a chance to show.
Yeah.
That's what happens on this show. It's odd.
Definitely a couple shots of Arie Luyendyk putting his sunglasses on in slow motion randomly throughout the show. Which, that's something.
Yep. There's a quick recap of NHRA. I forget where they ran. Only note I have is the quip that Kenny made. The funny cars are up next. They're hysterical. So there's another Sports Center moment for you. There's a Monaco Grand Prix qualifying report. I guess at this point, Jacques Villeneuve was pretty hot because he was on a streak of poles, and this was the first race in a while he wasn't on the pole.
It was his rookie year, if I remember correctly.
And didn't he won Indy the year prior, didn't he? Or was it 95?
He won in 95.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, he dominated Indy and then went over to F1. And I forget, was he actually successful in F1?
He won the championship, and he was at Williams for a couple years and was pretty fast, but he also kind of caught Williams in their decline.
Yeah.
So they switched from the Rothman sponsorship, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but they started to drop off, and I think he went to BMW or something like that when they came into the sport. There was a few different teams he went to, but once he left Williams, it was just not the same.
As they're running down the starting positions of all these drivers, and they do this with Indy as well, everybody's times and speeds are up on the screen, and this really harkens back to a time before the internet was really a thing. I mean, in 97 the internet existed, obviously, but it wasn't in everybody's homes like it was now.
Noisy to use too.
Yeah. I mean, shit, my parents wouldn't even get a computer till after Y2K. Like, I straight up did not have a computer in our household until 2000. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how a lot of viewers got their information was from newspapers and shows like this. So you really, at least back then, they were a lot more stringent about getting that data up on the screen. Now, again, back to how weird this show can be. They're back to Indy qualifying interviews, but right after qualifying wrapped up that day, we see another interview with Arie. There's an interview with Scott Goodyear. There's a baby Tony Stewart. He pops up on the screen. Just neat little throwback stuff. Again, for those who weren't watching back then or just don't remember, it's nice if you don't want to go back and watch like a full race. It's good to try to find shows like this or like Inside Winston Cup Racing. There are plenty of different race recap shows on YouTube. A lot of them, you can go and search by date. If you want a nice little burst of nostalgia instead of sitting through 3 hours of racing, like I do from time to time, RPM Tonight episode's worth checking out.
It's also a nice jumping off point to kind of figure out what to watch next,
Yeah.
and what to get into. Sorry, True Love, you're about to say something?
Well, I was just wondering, I think they mentioned something about a dentist qualifying.
Yes,
for
Dr.
the Indy
Jack
500?
Miller, the racing dentist.
Okay.
That's real.
You know
Just
about
making
him?
sure I heard that correctly.
Tell me more about him, Ron. 'Cause I don't
You ever heard of Dr. Jack Miller, the racing dentist?
I'm sure I probably heard that back then, but not. Doesn't ring any bells. No.
He was a literal dentist who
Just too much money, or
he just spent a lot of money to be in the
Yeah.
IRL, and he had both careers, and he was able to sort of leverage his position, and he was okay. He wasn't like a great driver by any means, but who really was in the IRL?
should stick to root canals.
Yeah. But he had a few years there, and I don't think he ever really had any big results. But there's actually a really good interview with him on Racer.com if you just look for Jack Miller. I want to say it was either Marshall Pruitt. I don't think it was with Robin Miller. But one of the guys from Racer did a nice little sit down with him, and he kind of goes over his career. And I used to shit on the guy and like really disrespect him because he wasn't good. But after hearing his story, it's like, all right, give the guy a fucking break. He raced in the Indy 500. It was his childhood dream. And he
Yeah, I
managed
mean,
to
come
do it,
on.
so
Well, that's cool.
hard to hate on. And that Crest
Yeah.
car is fucking hot looking. It's a nice paint job.
Listen, if any of us had a job that allowed us the financial means to race, we all would.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, come on.
Right.
No question.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah. I mean, and then from there, that's pretty much the gist of the show. I think it was the next night there was going to be an interview with Martha Nemechek, who I think
looked
John
depressing.
passed away. Yeah, John passed away earlier that year.
Especially in the middle of a show where it's all jokes, and then there's just this woman who just lost her son.
Weeping, yeah.
Weeping,
No.
yeah.
And then again, right after, there's a little Terry Labonte clip that they just had extra 30 seconds to show. It doesn't make any sense at all. But this is a fun little watch. We're trying to keep it shorter this week, probably the next couple weeks too, because again, it's a very busy week. Couple weeks for myself and Ashley. Again, I'm going to Darlington this weekend. We're both going to Wilkesboro, and then she's going to the 600. So it's a very busy month of racing. So I don't know how much time any of us are going to be spending on YouTube, but I'll still dig up some cool clips for you.
I'm not even sure if I'll be on the show next week because I will literally be at the racetrack when we typically record on Tuesdays.
Oh, you got to get
so
on the phone, buddy. 30 minutes.
30 minutes while I'm watching Chase Elliott qualify as late model.
Yeah, late breaking news, folks.
Yeah, which will not be late breaking once you hear this tomorrow.
No.
But seconds before we get on here, I found out Chase Elliott is running the ASA Stars race on Tuesday night with Eric Jones. So that'll be fucking cool.
It's fun to watch them guys duke it out in super late models, so I'm stoked to get to see that.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see him run a late model race yet. It's something I've been wanting, so.
I believe Chase Elliott was actually the last guy to win at North Wilkes. Well, that's not true because they ran it earlier. But before they reopened the track, wasn't he the last guy to win? You won a Cars Tour race or a Pass race or something like that? When they ran like briefly
no
in
idea.
2011 or something like that?
I mean, that's news to me, but Ashley, you
that.
should know this.
I don't have his stats memorized. I'm sorry, guys.
Well.
I drank too much in my 20s. I don't remember anything ever.
You're twice. Oh God, never mind. So yeah, I think that wraps up the show this week, folks. As always, you can follow us at Meet Me at DeBees on Twitter and Meet Me at Applebee's on Instagram. Check our link tree for all of our YouTube playlists and where you can find the rest of us on social media and all that good stuff. I'm Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the store. The next couple weekends while I'm out of town, there will be a sale running. So if you want to take advantage of that and give me some gas and beer money, I'd really appreciate that. How about y'all? You can tweet. You can give us your plugs now.
Tweet me your plugs.
Tweet me your plugs. Yes.
Snake Mountain _True Love on Instagram. I'm sure I'll be posting lots of shit from North Wilkesboro next week. So
Man on the ground.
when there's internet service, which there's not really at North Wilkesboro, but
Hey, your phones didn't work out there before there were people out there.
no.
And you can find me, RobMotes_unofficial. I really don't post on the internet at all. My band is called These Wild Plains, and we don't really post on the internet at all right now either. But soon, as every band says, and I will be not doing as much as these guys, but I will be in New Mexico. I'm going to go see The Cure next week, which is kind of cool. Put my little goth makeup on and, hang out with everybody there. And I'm going to probably check out San Diego Speedway for a nice night of B-Mod racing. Just put myself through hell. But I want to support our local dirt track out in Albuquerque. So that's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll be all over the place. All over the country.
International. And next week you'll be able to hear all about IndyCar. Because it's about to start, motherfuckers.
I'm glad I'm not going to be on the episode next week.
Toe speeds and no toe speeds and boost and fucking... Yeah, it's going to be great, folks. Can't wait for you.
We just lost half our listener fan base.
Yeah, we lost them about an hour ago, I think. So.
All right, folks. Well, thanks again for joining us at Applebee's, and we will talk to you next week.
Yes.
See ya.